One of the biggest what-ifs in Rocket League is what if this team was able to play with each other in the RLCS. And this is Rawas, Killiers, and Nupo. It's a set of players that played out of the MENA region that were going to be one of the biggest, if not the best Prodigy team we've seen to date. There's been a couple other Prodigy teams that have come in the making now, but I think this was a big one that was going to shift all of MENA in one fell swoop. But that's not the way it worked out. Now, we're going to move back a little bit. Today, we're going to be watching a couple different ranked replays of this squad playing alongside each other because they have been playing ranked the past couple days. And as you can imagine, they're farming. Here's Rawas getting a fake against 2 defenders and then tapping in the first goal for this ranked replay. We're going to talk a little bit about this team, how it was so close to happening, how it didn't end up happening, and just the whole state of MENA right now and where I think the players in MENA land as far as the comparison to the rest of the regions and just Rocket League, ability and skill as a whole. So if we want to go back, because Rawas going to make, another amazing save, as you watch from his perspective, he's known to do that. But if we go back to the very beginning, before RLCS was even starting, this was when MENA wasn't starting in the RLCS because, of course, the RLCS had started, but none of the Middle East players were playing in it. They were playing in their own Saudi Rocket League tournaments, and those tournaments did not have a 15-year-old age minimum. And because they didn't have a 15-year-old age minimum, it didn't matter that actually the full squad was under 15 years old. They were playing under a team called Nameless, and they were getting some pretty decent results, enough to have people, turning their heads. But it only mattered so much to the rest of the world when MENA wasn't in the RLCS. But when they did get added to the RLCS, it came alongside a rule, or, it always had the rule of you had to be at least 15 years old, as they go globetrotters right here before Rawas finally finishes it for their second goal. And that was it to be 15. Now, Rawas and Killiers, twin brothers who have been playing for MENA, of course, are also the same age, as you could guess. But Nupo is slightly older than them. The first couple splits, none of them could play. None of them were 15 years old. But Nupo became 15 years old first. He became 15 years old in the spring split of the first season. And so instead of sitting around and waiting for Rawas and Killiers to come around and be able to play with him, of course, he's not going to miss out his opportunity to play RLCS. So he did join another team called Cola. And by the end of that split, Cola was looking like the second best team. It was a little bit too late to get Worlds points and have that team show up at Worlds and prove that. But I do think Cola would have performed second best behind Falcons at that point, and it was largely because of Nupo, who was basically doing it all by himself. So as the next season started, and the Falcons are coming off of a 9 set of regional wins, what the MENA region wanted to do was come up with a team that could take them down. And I think this team not only could have taken them down, might have been even better, might have taken over, which was Rawas, Killiers, and Nupo. Nupo was going to join the Twins again, rejoin in Nameless, this time as KRN was going to be their team name. But the day, pretty much, it felt like the day before signups had to be official, the ban came out for Nupo saying that he had played previously when he was under 15. This was even earlier than the previous split that he played in. He had been playing under 15 years old, and so he now deserved to serve a ban for that, mistake he made earlier, and it was still going to be 1 full year. So they took Nupo off. I swear they even changed the deadline for the teams just for this team so they could go find somebody else. So Rawas and Killiers ended up finding Natter. They got to keep their KRN name. Maybe that's why they went for Natter in the first place. But they did end up winning. I mean, right away. I mean, I talked about how this team with Nupo was going to maybe take over, but even the Rawas, Killiers, Natter team took over and won the first regional. But it did seem to be a little bit of a flash in the pan, because from then on out, it was back to Falcons' domination, or at least Falcons, with the upper hand. They went to the first and second majors. It wasn't until that third major, when Rawas and Killiers teamed up with Mawson, that they were finally able to take over. But that was, a changing of the tides, I think, which was the Twins finally showing that they were maybe, the duo to beat, and maybe no longer the Khaled Ahmad, which was obviously that unbeatable duo ever since RLCS had been in MENA. So the fact that these two teams were so good had everybody saying, where is Nupo going to land? Everyone knew Nupo was great. He's going to be coming back and be available at the start of the next season. Should he go to Rule 1, who just took over having the top spot, who went to Boston and seemed to be maybe performing better, or should they go to Falcons, who have historically been the best, and that's where he should go, or should he go to the best team, or will it be the second best team picking him up? There was tons of speculation, which is the point I'm trying to make, and it turns out, as Rawas, unfortunately, his reset gets saved, is I don't think I saw a single speculation of what actually happened, which was Khaled and Ahmad joining Nupo on Rule 1 and Rawas and Kaliers joining TRK on the Falcons. I think not a single time did I hear that, but what I do think is that was MENA making their super team. I think that they collected 3 S-tier players, and I actually think there are 4 S-tier players. If you saw me on Chalkcast, you might have mentioned me talking about this, that are in MENA right now. And is all of the Falcons, Rawas, Kaliers, and TRK, as well as Nupo. And I think almost any collection of the 4 of them would be a top team. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that I actually had plans, or I expected, I should say, not had plans, that the Rule 1 team would have been another team in the top 5 or top 10 in the world. I felt like the 2 MENA teams were going to be extremely strong. But as Rawas gets a nice little double to finish this one off, Rule 1 hasn't given me exactly what I wanted to see. But we're going to go to the second game. I'll talk a little bit more about it there. We're going to hop on to Nupo POV for the second replay, which makes sense because it is his team that we're going to be talking a little bit about. And the fact that Rule 1 didn't really have the results that I was hoping out of them in order to confidently say that MENA has 2 top 4 teams. You know, Falcons, I knew for sure coming into the season we're going to be a team that could be winning majors. And I thought that there was a chance that, you know, the second MENA team would also be pushing for that. You know, maybe more like a semifinal team, somebody who's going to play upset to people who don't realize that MENA has multiple teams. But as they make a nice passing play, it is going to get stopped. I just don't think I saw that. And I think the reason why I had this team playing so well, or this team being Nupo's team, because of course this is a squad that never happened that we're watching right now, but I had Nupo's team doing well because of him. We saw him play on Cola in the RLCS, almost doing everything by himself. I think he has better teammates now than he did then, but I still thought there was a chance that he could be the best player, you know, despite having to play against the Falcons, be the #1 player in MENA. Well, I've seen him play really well. I'm not sure if I've seen enough to say that. So, and also the heads-to-heads between Rule 1 and Falcons, you know, I was expecting Rule 1 to be able to fight, you know, close a couple times. They played 4 times, and the only time it was close and it went to Game 7, it still, you know, there was a couple games in which the Falcons, or at least one where the Falcons blew them out, and it seemed like, you know, Falcons scored a lot more goals in that series than Rule 1. So they seem to, like, sneak it close, and it doesn't look good. In the other matches, in the recent matches, you know, a 3-1, a 4-0, and the most recent regional. It just, the word's not regional, it's open qualifier now, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. The old names were better. Rule 1 hasn't looked as strong. So I do have Rule 1 a little bit lower than I did at the start of the season. But I do have 4 S-tier players. And that is, you know, all of the Falcons squad and, of course, Nupo. So I do think that this squad that could be created, this Rawas, Killers, Nupo, would also be the best team if it were to happen. You know, if you were to replace TRK and Nupo, I do think that this team remains at the top. And I think a lot of people have theorized about stuff like this. And I'm not sure that it's actually very smart to do so. Specifically, everybody likes to call out Killers for whatever reason, even though I think Killers might be performing the best on the Falcons right now. But they say, oh, you know, Killers, I think, doesn't play 1v1 is basically what I think people are thinking. And they say, I want, you know, my full team of people I know are good in 1v1. I want Rawas, TRK, and Nupo. That's the best possible team. And I'm not sure it is. I think right now the Twins really do not need to separate from each other. I think they're both some of the best players, if not maybe the 1-2 players in the region. So why leave each other? It's just smart to stay playing with each other. So I expect it to stay that way. You know, maybe one day we'll get to see this roster that could have been, and maybe had it happened, it would still be going on today because they could have been so dominant and they're so, you know, on the rise. I think that there's no reason for them to break up, even if they didn't have, you know, a major victory or, you know, anything too guaranteed to keep. It seems like right now teams will only stay together with perfect results, but I do think the squad would have stayed together as another shot gets denied. We're basically seeing them just pepper the net and everybody in the ranked lobby just trying to sit there and stop them, which, to their defense, they have done a decent job. But you can't keep a guy like Rawas and Nupo out forever. And there's a nice passing play. Nupo able to get the finish. One of the things that I do like about Nupo is he does play Octane, brings a little bit of flair to MENA. He doesn't always play Octane, but at least sometimes does, which is becoming a rarity. But yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about this squad today. I don't know if you guys agree with me that these players would be, you know, would have been immediately the best players in MENA. But they're certainly an exciting squad, and fortunately for us, they're playing ranked together, so we can see how they gel together now. And at the end of the day, it is ranked, so of course they're going to be winning. They are streaming this as well, though. Rawas, you should check him out. RL_RW9 has been streaming these a lot of different gameplay live. It's mostly been 2s with Killiers, but it was also, a couple different streams where this 3 squad grinded up their 3s rating. So be sure to check that out as we watch this final minute of ranked. Nupo is going to dive past the ball here and pick up some sidewall. I mean, he is one of the speediest players, and there it is. The 3rd goal for the squad, and it comes, of course, from Nupo hitting a banger and finding a way to squeeze the ball in to the bottom right. And that's, of course, why we're watching Nupo perspective. But maybe they're not the best at kickoffs. Maybe they're not the best kickoff team. MENA actually does a great job of working on kickoffs, and I do think that Rule 1, when it was the Twins and Mawson, had a lot of good kickoff plays. Actually, I think the Falcons did too. So I think MENA was actually a little bit ahead of the curve of this recent kickoff wave. But I also don't expect this team that is going to be outmatching anybody that they find in rank to be too worried about perfecting every single kickoff that they do, because they seem to be able to make up for it. As Nupo chains some dashes, the Twins are trying to absolutely pop off, but Killiers couldn't get the angle, so they couldn't get the clip for the fans with 18 seconds left to go. Killiers drops one in for Rawas, who tries to outplay 3. Are these guys going to give us one last clip for the road? I'm not sure. Nupo is just driving around, picking up every bit pads, and then just instantly using them to stay top speed, but always at 0 boost. And a little pre-jump. Killiers to Nupo. Rawas, the finish. No, Darkside doesn't want to have it. 0-second magic. Could it happen? It can't. So anyways, this is the Rawas Killiers Nupo squad. A little bit of history if you hadn't known about this before. Maybe if you are a big MENA guy, or even just a big fan of my channel, maybe you already knew about this squad and already wished it happened. But thought I'd give you guys a little bit of focus on it and get a chance to see them play together in ranked. Not a bad video if you ask me, but I'm biased. Anyways, see you next time.